At first, it seemed like nothing more than water. Within that water lived a curved bacterium few could see. In the warm delta of the Ganges, it quietly multiplied. People drew river water as they always had. Once swallowed, the bacteria traveled into the small intestine. There, they released toxins that forced cells to expel fluid. Dehydration struck rapidly, draining life within hours. Bodies collapsed as if emptied from the inside. The world did not yet know its name. Trade winds and ships would soon carry it farther. History was about to mark a new line. Cholera would become one of humanity's deadliest companions. The Ganges Delta formed a vast and fertile labyrinth. Seasonal monsoons transformed land into temporary inland seas. Brackish water nurtured microscopic plankton communities. Vibrio cholerae attached itself to their chitin surfaces. Daily life unfolded directly along contaminated banks. Waste disposal often flowed back into drinking sources. Downstream currents quietly redistributed invisible pathogens. Fishing sustained families who depended entirely on the river. Markets connected villages through dense trade networks. Colonial authorities expanded ports to serve imperial commerce. River routes linked Bengal to distant territories. Troop movements increased human mobility across the region. Religious gatherings concentrated thousands beside shared water. Travelers carried filled pots along crowded roads. Rising temperatures accelerated bacterial growth cycles. Warm months consistently preceded seasonal outbreaks. Entire hamlets could empty within days. From this delta, the first pandemic would emerge. In 1817, a new chapter quietly opened. British East India Company troops occupied Bengal's humid plains. Military camps concentrated men under intense summer heat. Shared water barrels became invisible transmission points. The first soldiers collapsed without warning. Symptoms advanced with terrifying speed. Entire rows of tents turned silent overnight. Officers struggled to record rising fatalities. Carts carried bodies away at dawn. Nearby villages soon reported similar deaths. Roads connected infected camps to inland towns. Merchants unknowingly transported contaminated supplies. The outbreak spread steadily across the subcontinent. Improvised hospitals filled beyond capacity. Doctors had no explanation for the devastation. Calcutta soon became a crucial transmission hub. Cargo ships departed while cases multiplied ashore. Sailors shared confined quarters and limited fresh water. Sea routes connected India to distant colonies. Ports across Southeast Asia reported sudden outbreaks. Dock workers handled contaminated supplies without suspicion. By 1820, cholera had escaped its original delta. From Asia, trade routes carried the disease westward. Caravans transported goods across desert corridors. Shared wells exposed travelers to contaminated water. Ottoman ports recorded unfamiliar waves of mortality. Mediterranean cities soon followed. Warehouse districts became early urban hotspots. Public fountains turned into transmission hubs. Hospitals overflowed within weeks. City officials debated ineffective containment measures. Newspapers amplified fear across populations. Cholera advanced into the Russian Empire. By the 1830s, Europe faced recurring epidemics. Transatlantic migration opened a new frontier. Passengers endured crowded and unsanitary crossings. American ports received infected arrivals. Dense tenements accelerated urban spread. Churchyards filled beyond capacity. Commerce slowed as labor forces collapsed. Factories stood silent in industrial districts. Authorities imposed quarantines at city gates. Military cordons restricted movement. Public unrest erupted against perceived oppression. The pandemic reshaped politics and economies. Cholera had become a global phenomenon. Industrial London offered dense and vulnerable conditions. Families crowded into damp basement dwellings. A single pump supplied entire courtyards. Open sewers flowed beside drinking sources. Contamination became structurally unavoidable. Victims collapsed within their homes. Skin turned pale as fluids vanished. Doctors lacked effective treatment options. Hallways filled with the deceased. Coffin wagons rolled continuously through streets. Workers dug trenches for rapid burials. Churches struggled to accommodate mourning crowds. Authorities posted urgent public notices. Death clusters revealed alarming geographic patterns. Urban infrastructure itself appeared to be failing. Hospitals became epicenters of desperation. Beds stood inches apart in overheated wards. Physicians documented rapid fluid depletion. The disease killed through catastrophic dehydration. Municipal leaders argued over containment strategies. Sanitation crews spread Lyme in public spaces. Distrust fueled confrontations in working districts. Rumors accused authorities of deliberate poisoning. Wealthier residents fled to rural estates. Industrial production declined sharply. Mortality rates surged within weeks. Gravediggers worked without pause. By mid-century, cities faced repeated devastation. Medical science struggled to interpret recurring epidemics. The dominant theory blamed poisonous air, called miasma. Rotting waste and foul smells were considered primary causes. Physicians advised ventilation and aromatic fumigation. City authorities focused on eliminating bad odors. Textbooks reinforced atmospheric explanations for disease. One London doctor questioned this consensus. John Snow began analyzing patterns of infection. He plotted deaths on a neighborhood map. A dense cluster formed around one public pump. Households using alternative water sources showed lower mortality. Snow presented evidence to skeptical colleagues. Debate divided the medical community sharply. Established doctrine resisted radical reinterpretation. The silent pump stood at the center of controversy. Local authorities reluctantly removed the pump handle. Access to the contaminated source was abruptly stopped. Reported deaths declined in subsequent days. Some journals began reconsidering entrenched assumptions. A new understanding of transmission slowly emerged. In 1854, Soho experienced a sudden outbreak. Entire households fell ill within hours. A single pump supplied most families. Children carried contaminated water home. Deaths accumulated rapidly across adjacent streets. John Snow conducted systematic door-to-door inquiries. He recorded precise residential addresses. Mapping revealed a concentrated geographic cluster. Nearby brewery workers remained largely unaffected. Their workplace used a separate water source. Inspection uncovered sewage leaking into the well. Snow presented this evidence before municipal authorities. Reluctantly, officials authorized decisive intervention. The pump handle was removed from service. Within days, the epidemic curve began to fall. The event marked a turning point in epidemiological investigation. By 1883, bacteriology had matured significantly. Robert Koch traveled to Egypt and India. Using microscopy, he identified a distinct curved organism. The bacterium consistently appeared in cholera patients. Detailed sketches documented its unique shape. Laboratory cultures strengthened the causal link. The organism adhered to intestinal epithelial cells. It secreted a powerful enterotoxin. The toxin elevated cyclic AMP inside cells. Ion channels released massive volumes of water. Patients died primarily from extreme dehydration. Healthy tissue showed none of these alterations. Germ theory gained decisive empirical support. Vibrio cholerae was formally recognized. Scientific consensus gradually aligned with microbial causation. Researchers later distinguished classical and L-Tor biotypes. Genetic analysis revealed differences influencing transmission dynamics. Molecular tools deepened understanding of cholera evolution. Massive sewer projects transformed urban infrastructure. Engineers redesigned cities to separate waste from water. Indoor plumbing reduced reliance on contaminated pumps. Public health offices institutionalized disease reporting. Mapping became a standard epidemiological tool. Nations convened to coordinate sanitary regulations. Water filtration plants expanded across industrial regions. Chlorination further reduced microbial contamination. Mortality rates declined steadily in modern cities. Infrastructure replaced superstition with prevention. Health education campaigns targeted vulnerable communities. Global surveillance networks monitored emerging outbreaks. In 1961, a new pandemic wave began. The L-Tor strain spread from Indonesia outward. Within decades, it reached Africa and beyond. Conflict zones and refugee camps proved especially vulnerable. Oral rehydration therapy dramatically reduced fatality rates. Simple salt and glucose solutions saved millions. Yet outbreaks persisted where sanitation remained fragile. Genomic sequencing now tracks bacterial evolution precisely. Digital surveillance monitors cases in real time. Cholera endures, reminding humanity that water defines survival.